Hello. In today's video, I want to show you how to import existing resources into Terraform and how to use the modules. So sometimes there is the cases when you have your infrastructure created on AWS, which I have here in this case, but it's not managed by Terraform, and I want to start manage it by Terraform. So like the simplest way is to just run Terraform apply, and Terraform will create instance with the same configuration or with like similar, but it won't update the old one. So you would need to reconfigure your application, or do any other step which is required to start using new instance. But there is the simpler way. Existing instance can be imported into the state file. So what I need to do for that? So first, for any Terraform resource, I'm using the AWS instance. So let me find that. In the documentation, if I scroll down, there is the section import. And this section provides the command which can be used to import existing resource into the AWS. So I would need to reuse the same command, but of course it will be a bit different. So what I can do? So first I need to do Terraform import. Then I need to provide Terraform resource. In my case, this is the AWS instance. So let me place that. Another parameter which I need to pass, this is the Terraform resource name. In my case, that's foo. So I'm going to type here foo. And the final thing which I need to provide, this is the AWS resource ID. So for that, I need to go to the console. I need to take my instance ID. Copy it, paste here, and I can do the import. It should scan AWS, trying to find if this instance exists, and if it does, it will import. Import successful. Now I can run Terraform plan. And it's refreshing the state for the instance. It's detected that on my instance there is no volume tags, so I can apply, but besides that, nothing else will be changed. So another thing which I wanted to show is Terraform module. Terraform module, this is the abstraction which can be used to organize multiple pieces of code and then reuse it in different cases. So for example, here I have EC2 instance and I'm going to define one more resource, which will be AWS security group. So usually module contain a bit more resources than just two, but here, for example, I think two will be enough. So let me call it test SG, and will be typical for EC2, I'm sorry, AWS security group. I will provide test name. We will change all this parameter later, but I need to create like this resource before we move it to the module. So it will be allow traffic to web app. Then I need to provide the VPC ID because security group need to be created in the VPC. So I'm going to copy this from my VPC. So your VPC, I'm going to copy it, put it right here, but it needs to be in quotes. I'm going to use the dynamic block to generate the configuration. So I would specify here dynamic. My block should be named as ingress because I'm going to dynamically create ingress rules. And I will do the loop for each. And here will be some list of ports, which I will do just one port for now. And also I need to specify the content. And as usually in the security group, I need to specify from port, which should be equal to the ingress dot value. Also I need two port, which also would have value as ingress dot value. Next I need protocol, which will be TCP, and finally I need to provide the CIDR blocks. And for this example, I'm just going to use 0, 0, 0. So 0, 0, 0 slash 0. And also for security group, I need to provide outbounds rule. So I'm going to create the egress block. And egress block will be pretty simple. I will just open all the ports from port 0 to port also 0. That means all ports are open. Protocol will be as -1. That means all protocols. And finally, CIDR block also will be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, slash 0. Okay, so now I have security group. I can try to run Terraform plan to see if a security group block will work. Okay, looks like there is some mistake. What's wrong? Argument CIDR block is not expected here and incorrect attribute value. So yeah, equal sign shouldn't be here. And what's wrong with the CIDR block here? Not sure yet. Let's check line 26 argument kind of CIDR blocks. Okay. Now I can do Terraform plan, and this time security group should be created. Oh, one more typo in the CIDR blocks. So Terraform plan. Hopefully it will work this time. Yeah, looks everything fine. As for now, I'm going to destroy because I don't need this EC2 anymore. And let's imagine that you need to create EC2 instances with the similar security group like 5 times. So the simplest option will be is to copy the same block of code 5 times. So I can copy this, I can put 1 time, I can put 2nd time, and I can change some values here. But it's not the best solution because there is still a lot of code duplication. But there is the better option. I can transform this to the module. So how can I do it? First, I would need to create folder, which I would name modules. It can be any other name, but I think modules name provide understanding what is inside. And I would call it common server. And now I need to move here main and variables. I would move these 2 files inside of the my common server. So once I did that, I can start using this as module. But it's not very convenient because all these values right now hard-coded, and if I even reuse this module multiple times, all of my instances and security group will have the same values, which I don't want. So what I can do, I can replace all here by modules, by variables. So I would provide here variable instance type, which we already have. Here it will be variable type var subnet ID, which does not exist yet. Next one, security group. So security group is a bit more complicated because here I need to provide the list, and I want to have ability to supply my own security groups, but also I want this security group to be created. So I can use the function which is called concat to add content of to extend list which I'm supplying by default. So I'm going to create new variable which I would call security groups, and I need also supply variable which I want to add. This will be the list, and I'm going to use this test security group here as ID. So it will be test sg.id. So in the end, I would have the list which contain of the security groups which I supplied to my module plus security group which was created here. And I would define the tag name, and I'm going to use here string concatenation. So I would use variable, which I would call as var prefix, because I don't want all resources to be created with the same name, and I would add here as common server. So this will take my variable prefix and add this to the common server, and this is how I would get the name of the instance. I would do the same for security group name, but I would rename this as common SG. Description can be similar, or I can probably extend allow. I can do something like this. Allow traffic to, and I would provide here the name of the instance. VPC ID also need to be parameterized, so I'm going to introduce variable which will be VPC ID. And list of the ports also I would like to parameterize, so I would provide here var, and I would call this ports. So now I have everything parameterized, but I need to create variables for each of those. So how can I do it? Like, it's the same as we did before, but it will be a few more. So I would create variable. First will be instance type. Default value will be something low st2 micro. Also, I can provide the description, but I would omit it. And I would like to provide the type of the variable. Next variable will be subnet ID. It's similar, but in this case, I'm not going to provide the default value because I don't know upfront subnet ID which can be used. So this will need to be populated by user who is going to use the module. So next, that will be the security groups. Again, there is no default value, but I will specify that this should be the list of string. Next one, this is the list of ports. I have the value ports. Type this time will be the list of numbers, so it will be the list numbers. So what else do we need? We also need, I think there should be also EMI ID. I forgot to change this var EMI ID because we want to be able to supply EMI ID for each of the instances. So here is the typo, should be number. Then next one, this EMI ID. I can provide some default value for EMI because we can, like, for example, set by default to be used as Ubuntu or something like that, but I'm not going to do that. And finally, we would need the prefix, which also there will be no default value. And this will be the type of string. So now I have all the variables defined. I can start using the module. So outside of the my modules folder, I'm going to create file main.tf. And here I'm going to specify that I want to use the module. I need to provide the name. It will be, let it be common server. And what I need to specify, this is the source attribute. So this source attribute, it can be as location of the module on file system, but it also can be a location in a Terraform registry or in some source control. And I need to supply here path to the my local module. Next, what I need is to provide other attributes. So I have the AMI ID. I'm going to use here the data resource, which I have defined it here in my data. This is one from the previous video where we checked how to dynamically retrieve AMI ID. And let's supply other. So I need to provide security groups, and I would go to the AWS because I have the security group created already. So I want to attach this security group to the instance. So I would take this security group and I would provide it right here. Next one, this is the VPC ID, which I can also take from the AWS, your VPCs, VPC. Next parameter, subnet ID. Also, I can take the value from the subnets. Let's choose first random subnet in quotes. Then I need to supply the ports, which this should be the list, and inside of the list I can specify port 80 and 443. Also prefix, let it called like web app. And final, this is the instance type. I'm going to use T3 micro. So this is how I defined my module. I just supplied a bunch of variables. Now, when I will try to run Terraform plan, I will get an error because my module is not installed. So I need to run the Terraform init, and it's initialized the module. So if the module will be located in Terraform registry or GitHub, it will be downloaded. So now when my module initialized, I can run the Terraform plan, and it should argument VPC ID is not expected, so most likely I forgot to add VPC ID here. Yes. So one more variable, VPC ID, also type string. And this time let's run Terraform plan again. Okay, and this complain about outputs, so we will look into this in a minute, how to do outputs, but right now we don't have any outputs defined. So Terraform plan is running, and you may see that it's going to create those resources which were defined in module. So module can contain multiple resources like 1, 10, any amount of resources, and it's kind of somehow logically grouped into the modules. Also for the modules, I can add the outputs. So I'm going to create the new file, outputs.tf, and in the same way as I defined output previously, I can define outputs here. So basically I can just copy this outputs. So, but when I will run Terraform plan, nothing going to happen because this output is not going to be printed anywhere. Let's try. Because I can use these outputs values inside of the other resources which I'm creating. As you may see, there is nothing here. So if I want to print those outputs here, I need to uncomment this line. I can keep the same name, but value this time will be different. So let's check how Terraform named the resources after I move it to the module. So usually when we create resources, it has name AWS instance.foo. But when I started to use the module, name is different. So it will be module dot name of our module AWS instance.foo. So I need to copy this value and I need to provide it right here. And it will be IP. What is the private IP? Private IP. And once I add it here, Terraform should detect that I'm going to print something from the output. The object has now declared. Oh, yes, I'm referencing this as module, but inside of my module, I should reference the output. So let's change that. So it shouldn't be AWS instance. It should be just name of my output here of the instance IP address. And let's run again. And this time it should work. Yeah. So you see, it's going to print instance address. So output itself will be created on the module level and then propagated here to the place where we are calling the resource. And similar with import. So as in previous example, I was able to run Terraform import. doing the search, Terraform import. So I was able to run this as AWS instance. So, and if I'm using the module, I would need to add here the name as I have here, like a module common server. So I would need to provide module common server, AWS instance name, and after that I would be able to import resource into state. So that's all what I wanted to show today. Thank you for your attention.